The title for this message is A Woman of Great Faith. She was called a woman of great faith. Now, this woman was someone who came to Jesus, and she wanted her daughter to be healed. And she knew of Jesus' healing abilities. And how did she know? But she knew. The reputation of Jesus had spread throughout many places. You remember the times when Jesus would heal somebody or, cast out demons, and he'd say, now don't go telling everybody. And one time he told the man to not, and the man blazed it all over the world. So people were hearing things about Jesus from far away. Well, this woman, according into Mark's account, the woman was a Greek Syrophoenician. She was a Canaanite. And in Matthew, he refers to as a woman of Canaan. Up in the Greek Syrophoenician area, if you look at a map and you have Jerusalem like here where my hand is, up here to the northwest along the Mediterranean Sea was an area where Tyre and Sidon were cities along the coast. And up in that region, apparently there were peoples that were left behind during the days of Joshua. When Joshua was coming into Israel, the land that would become Israel, they were to push all these people out, the Canaanites. But some of them were left behind. And this lady was among that group. Well, she had heard of Jesus. And I'm trying to tie this message together with a message that we had some time ago, not that long ago, about the weightier matters of the law. Remember we talked about in Matthew 23 and verse 23, how Jesus had talked to chided the Pharisees, for they were tithing of all these fine details of tithing elements, but they were overlooking the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith, right? So I have this particular publication. A friend of mine gave me these. I have a series of them. It's called Covenant Nations. It's a British publication. This is from 2015. And I was reading it the other day, and come to find out there's an article written by a gentleman that's called The Hidden Salvation. This article, as it turns out, is exactly about this very incident where the woman, this Greek Syrophoenician, and he goes on to explain about some of the circumstances with her. And that's how we come to find out. He explains some of the things about like the crumbs that fell. Well, let me get back to that. Now, reviewing the topic with this story in mind, I'm reading through that. And as I'm reading the story of this lady, this woman, and how he's describing it, I realized something as I'm going through. The very things that we talked about with the judgment, the mercy, and the faith, those three weightier matters of the law, apply in this story. I thought, wow, that's remarkable. It's right in the story. So, these ought you have done, Jesus said. So let's go into this little story here. It's in Matthew 15. You could also look in Mark chapter 7, but we'll stick into Matthew 15 for this message because it's just a sermonette. But in Matthew 15, verse 22, we see this example and description of her. It says, "And behold, a woman of Canaan came from that region and cried out to him, saying, have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely demon-possessed." Now, Jesus and his disciples had gone up into that region, I guess for a visit to spread the gospel, what have you. But she knew of him. This is what's remarkable and why it makes a significance, because she had heard of him. There was the example that he had set, the reputation that he had set. when she had heard of him. And so she goes and she says, "Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David." Why would she be calling him Lord, Son of David? She's of Canaan. But she knows something remarkable here, and she's acting on it. So, interesting that his disciples who were with him urged him, saying, "Send her away. She cries out after us. She's pestering us. Get her away from us. She's not one of us. Go on, go on, go on." But he's not saying that necessarily. Jesus is not saying that right away. So in Matthew 15, 24 to 27, this is interesting, brethren. "For he answered and said, I was not sent except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." And so what came to my mind there was, if you go back to Matthew 7 and verse 6, Jesus said that we should not cast that which is holy unto the dogs, right? So the decision-making that Jesus is doing in this case must have been really amazing for him, because he knows that that's something he had said. And here, on the other hand, he's got this incident where this woman is asking him for help. Ordinarily, to follow the instructions he gave there, he would have cast her away. The disciples wanted to cast her away, right? "Then that what you said?" Right? Well, but on this hand, she's coming to him asking for mercy. So he makes this comment, but he answered and said, "It is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs." And that's where this gentleman came in with a description of that. It made sense to me, and I hadn't read it that way before, where she points out, and he points out, how that ordinarily, and I know, back when we were kids, we had a little Boston Terrier, and the Boston Terrier would be down at the floor when we were eating. And you'd always want to get him something, give him a piece of meat and drop it in, and he'd just take it. He didn't even chew it, just right down, right? Well, the dogs are under the table, he's describing, this fellow, and the crumbs are falling from the table, and sometimes the little kids will put down a little piece there, making sure that the dogs will get some. Well, isn't that what he's illustrating? That she, being a Canaanite woman, still received some of the crumbs. The knowledge of Jesus still filtered out. The crumbs went out, if you will, and she heard those crumbs and is responding to them, right? They're settling into good ground, good fertile ground, where they're taking root. The little crumbs that she read about or heard about. I don't know if she read about, she heard about them. And now Jesus is in town. I'm going to take advantage of it. I know that he can heal my daughter, get rid of that demon out of her. So she said, verse 27, "True, Lord, yet even the little dogs eat the crumbs which fall from their master's table." We all hear of your word, and we all pick up some of the truth that you've given us. We're going to act on the truth that we've heard. Isn't that what we're supposed to do? So then, what does Jesus do? He's got to make a judgment. Then Jesus answered and said to her, "O woman, great is your faith. Let it be as you desire," verse 28, and her daughter was healed from that very hour. The word judgment in Matthew 23:23, that word judgment comes from a Greek word krisis, 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 and it means decision. And then applying it to you and me in our situations, every day we face items that we have to face. We have to make judgments. Jesus made a judgment then, right? What am I going to do? On the one hand, I said not to cast pearls before swine, etc., or before the dogs. Yet, on the other hand, she's asking for help. He had to weigh all that, right? And made a judgment saying, I'm going to heal her or help her, right? So he made a decision what to do. We all make decisions on what we have to do in every situation that we're in. And then mercy was shown. Mercy is that priority of reminding ourselves of who we represent. And the woman was asking for mercy. For us, mercy ought to be an underlying motive within us all the time, wanting to give mercy if you can. To give mercy to a guy wanting to turn onto my street today. He's pulling a trailer. He's got to come, the truck has to come around the corner to make room for his trailer. So I give him way. I'm merciful to the guy, you know. It happens all the time for us. And then she showed faith as a troublesome thing to sometimes keep faithful, but we have to. And then he said, Jesus, great is your faith. That's why she's a woman of great faith in my title. So each of these things, brethren, are part of learning to live by these weightier matters of the law. So let's do what we can and ask God to work in us to help these things become real for us.